Hello, everybody. Today is June 23rd. We're on another episode of the news. I think today is business, and then we were talking. It's supposed to be robot, but it's kind of like robot slash science now. So
Mostly space stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, sometimes there's a really cool space story, and I'm like, I want to include this, but putting it in nonsense, it's not really nonsense. It's cool space stuff.
Yeah.
Put it in a robot. That's where it goes.
So it's robot slash science.
You're doing another one? It's supposed to be one
Get
per
wild,
week.
son. Get it.
One per day. One per news episode.
We're gonna need a lot more people to start sending stuff in.
Well, no, don't forget we got the 2 liter. Like the 2 liter will last a week easy.
Yeah, but that's not new.
It was really hard to decide what to drink next because we're doing the bi antioxidant infusion. It's
Krista, you should get a promotional thing with them for bi.
Oh yeah, for bi.
It's a very intense orange color.
Is this carbonated?
It doesn't look like it. I think it's just water.
Oh yeah, this is a very strong fruit juice smell. It smells like a bubble yum. Tastes a little bit like bubble yum.
I've never tasted a fruit that tastes like bubble yum.
Is it good? You don't look like you're thrilled with it.
It's a pretty solid B.
B for bi.
It's like bubble gum though.
Is it carbonated?
I don't think so.
I guess if you can't tell, then the answer is probably no.
No, I don't think it's it's a filtered water. I don't even know what that is. Or hydrothol, clarified orange juice concentrate, citric acid, potassium citrate, tea extract, ascorbic acid, vitamin C. It tastes like a splash of orange juice in green tea.
It seems to be a trend with these.
Yeah.
Just a splash of orange juice in
green tea? A tea base.
Oh, yeah.
And then a little bit of flavoring.
I think the green tea is where the caffeine comes from. But it's delightful. It's very drinkable.
Did you give it a letter grade?
B.
Oh, okay.
B, yeah.
But once again, how many calories in that one?
10.
Do we count that as diet? Does it go into the running?
Yeah, I think 10 calories is like, I'll probably burn more than that just fidgeting.
Another winner. I don't think you don't burn nearly as many calories as you think when you're doing stuff. Well, this one is something that, doing a little business news here, certainly everybody saw this coming.
We told you so.
It was just a matter of time. I remember when they acquired this company.
Palmer Luckey.
And they were like...
He had some things to say.
And they were like, nah, it's crazy talk. Yeah. We're never doing any of that.
Palmer Luckey literally said we would never do this.
And now we've got the requirement to marry the account.
Yes.
And we've got...
Facebook will start putting ads in Oculus apps. It will expand them based on user feedback. The early user feedback is, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
So you can either open the ad immediately, which I think just launches a browser, or you can save it for later.
Wow. Drink verification can to start your game.
So there's only one game right now that's going to have it, but be assured there will be more and more of this. And how long until you have a VR app that requires you to look at ads before you can do anything, or it requires you to like something?
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time.
I'm still not convinced about VR. It's definitely not moving of course, with the chip shortage, maybe that's a problem, but it's not moving fast enough for my taste.
The one that's coming out is like some sort of like 5K resolution, and it looks insane. And if it actually is that, I want to pick one up.
Is that plug into a PC still, or is that standalone? Okay.
No, it's plug into a PC and 5K resolution per eye, or 5K total, some obscene resolution.
What video card are you going to have for that?
You got to have all the fancy software upscaling and like a 3090 or a 6900 XT.
So super cheap. Easy to find too. Amazon, we learned last week, had sort of just without warning anybody swooped in and took the axe to some Chinese companies. And no one was sure exactly why. Amazon didn't give a statement. But this week, another one has fallen, and they've finally broken their silence and talked about what caused this.
Amazon confirms it removed RavPower, a popular phone battery and charger brand, just like Alki and Impow, except perhaps more thoroughly. Yes. This has to do with the liability lawsuits. Remember those where people's houses were burning down and stuff like that? Turns out Amazon's been doing stuff.
So this New York Times reporter tweeted this. They bought a RavPower thing, and I've gotten these before. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
These little, there's some of them, those scratch-offs. Guess what? They're all winners. Winners. And if you perform something, I've never tried to do it. Have you?
No.
So they claim they're going to give you really cool stuff if you give them a review. They can't be paying $35 per review. But anyway, it seems like somebody at Amazon got an email and immediately took action.
Yeah.
They don't claim that RavPower stuff is bad. Just that you can't do that kind of thing. Manipulating the reviews. That's the thing.
Isn't that like literally everything though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like everything on Amazon has that.
Literally everything. And the next story really should have been the one that well, no, it's not the other one. It was the one where Amazon bumped their own products to the top. But we're actually going to learn that Apple did that too.
This is not that.
No.
This is the third-party stuff, exactly what we're talking about with the, like, hey, I'll give you $35 to give me a review. And Amazon says, hey, look, that's not our fault. We can't be expected to do anything about that. And you're saying, well, whose fault is it, Amazon? How can you possibly blame this on somebody else?
Amazon blames social media for the struggle with fake reviews. The firm says that sites are slow to act when warned that fake reviews are being solicited on their platform.
Slow to act? Amazon? How long has this been going on?
Years.
At least the better part of 5 years. It's been prolific, right? Yes. I would say.
There's been a plugin that you can like put in a URL for an Amazon product so you can check it for fake reviews for years.
And I always get over 60% untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
because it like figures stuff out.
That's a failing grade, Amazon. Even if Facebook is also failing, you should set the example. It's your company. And the FLoC, we've heard about Google's FLoC. They want to revolutionize the way that you're tracked online, not to stop you from being tracked necessarily, just to change it. But it seems that everyone else might be a little resistant to change.
Amazon is blocking Google's FLoC. They've been FLoC blocked. And that could seriously weaken the fledgling tracking system. I think we used that as a title of the news.
Yeah, we've already used it, so now we have to
I was going to say, did we? Because I was getting ready to write that down.
What do you think about this image, Krista?
I really like this picture. I've been like staring at it for.
Have you noticed that the Amazon arrow is on the tips of his tentacles? And
it's also the smile is also like in the tentacles as well.
Yeah, it's well done.
Yeah, good job.
What is the little icon in the eye stalk? Is that a lightning bolt? Does that have anything to do with Amazon?
I don't think so. I think the illustrator, I guess, is Ivy Lou.
Good job.
Good job, Ivy Lou. Excellently done. And with only 2 colors as well. Or 3.
Yeah, that's a sign of a strong designer if they can work in a limited palette.
One of the big things about Amazon is that all this badness with the reviews and stuff like that, it all comes from their army of third-party sellers who they don't seem to be very willing to police.
Yeah.
I think they make quite a bit of money from that, and they don't really want to upset the apple cart. But they might have to, which would be a massive, massive blow to them.
Amazon and eBay are both fighting legislation that would unmask third-party sellers. Federal and state bills come as e-commerce gains ground. So eBay, there are a lot of very large sellers on eBay, and when one seller, I guess, gets a lot of negative reviews or something goes catastrophically wrong, they just create another account and move everything over. And eBay has a limited ability to like know that, hey, that's the same person, you're just using a different account or different PayPal account or whatever. And the same with Amazon. There are a lot of Chinese companies that have stood up, done stuff, and then disappeared. Like that one, like the hoverboards that caught on fire. Like by the time the reporter got around to investigating it, that company had closed shop. And the Chinese version of that company had also closed shop. But the people involved were still doing the same thing.
The opponents of this argue that a lot of third-party sellers are just working out of their home, and you would effectively be giving up home addresses and home phone numbers if you did this kind of thing. So there's an argument to be made there, but do we really want to give people the option to do business anonymously like that as a seller? Maybe that's okay. We can give them that burden because they're choosing to do business on Amazon.
Also, I mean, with all these big businesses buying up houses and stuff, how long before it's like, oh, we have a little office here, and it's actually just a house that they bought, and then, they get complaints and they just disappear, even though they're actually under that big umbrella.
Yeah, there are a lot of places that forbid having a home business. HOAs and stuff. which is, I think, probably unconstitutional if you don't have people actually coming to your house.
Everything about HOAs is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
But you have to agree. That's why you have to agree to it.
Yeah.
It's not can't be coercion, just like that vaccine. Google, Facebook, and Amazon, they hate each other. And they fight each other a lot, but sometimes they come together. And when they come together, you are damn sure it's a bad idea.
Google, Facebook, and Amazon and more urge the SEC to mandate regular climate reports. And that's because these companies are actually doing better on their climate stuff than most other companies, and they want that documented so that they can get more points.
And if you are someone who's starting out in this kind of business, it's going to be very difficult to offset that the way that they do it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're starting a new data center? What are you doing about your carbon credits? Oh, you don't have the money to spend on carbon credits? Oh, boo-hoo. Sorry, you.
We got some. You want to buy them? We have so many ever since they changed that law. I think this will happen just because Wall Street people love a new thing to chart and talk about and write newsletters about.
Yeah.
So this is another thing and everybody will be like, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, that sounds good. Now we have another... Oh, the climate report is out today for Amazon. Buy options. This one's kind of a sprawling article. There's not much of a pinpointed thing to talk about here, but it's just the idea, and I think that our audience will be hyper aware, certainly we are, that the more code you introduce, the more inevitably something goes wrong.
There are unintended consequences.
And sometimes that's not that big a deal. Hey, if you're running a website, something's going to go wrong. Okay, can we get it back quickly? That'll be fine. But when you're doing 75 miles an hour, it's much more important.
How software is eating the car. The trend towards self-driving and electric vehicles will add hundreds of millions of lines of codes to cars. Can the auto industry cope? And this actually does a really good job giving you a background or in it starting out. It's like, hey, when we first started to notice this was a problem, we were at about 3 million lines of code. And the new Ford F-150 is at 150 million lines of code. What's going on?
So every little thing that the car does needs a module, and all of those modules, when they come together, I thought they had a bullet list here. Oh, yeah. So you can imagine like all this stuff. And there's tabs too. That's not the entire list. There's tabs. So all these various things live in your car. Every time they add a new one, they add lots of code. And Heesung is doing some of that work.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. And we've learned the Department of Transportation gets a copy of all that stuff.
Great.
Also not good.
Oh, no. Tim Cook has had some things to say about a new European law. And it covers a couple of different things, but the big one, the one that you can tell, by his quotes here, that he's just not going to let happen no matter what he has to do, is side loading. There will not be side loading on Apple if he has to die.
Apple CEO Tim Cook criticizes European law that would break App Store hold. This is amazing. The direct quote from Tim Cook is amazing. It's just like, our customers don't want that.
And it would be a security risk. You would destroy the security of the App Store and everything if you did this. But it might be coming.
Yeah.
And he'll have to tolerate it. What percentage of Apple users do you think would actually sideload? I think it's probably comparatively small.
I think it's probably fairly small. And, well, I don't know, though. If you have companies like Valve and Epic pushing for sideloading, it might be more than we expect.
I guess, yeah, if they organized it through another third party as a service, that could be something, yeah.
I also don't see it as an especially terrible thing because, like, if you look at Steam is curated. I tend to trust games from Steam not to have malware and stuff like that. So if Steam had a side-loaded app store of Steam stuff, that would probably not really be a lot different from a security perspective. If Google offered Google Play on the iPhone, I would not trust that as far as I could throw it.
But you see companies like Microsoft already laying the groundwork for like, maybe these executables, maybe we shouldn't have these.
Yeah.
So this kind of thing maybe will, force them to stop that nonsense.
Yeah.
we'll see.
Oh, if only we had the security framework to run all these applications in a virtualized sandbox where we could actually limit what they're doing at an API level. Instead of trusting the application not to use the microphone API or the GPS API, if only we had some sort of way of cryptographically enforcing that and the machines were powerful enough to do that. Oh, wait.
Apple, a while back, if you recall, had a little spat with Dropbox. Now, Dropbox claimed that when searching for Dropbox, the word Dropbox, and Apple, it tended to return results that ranked, or I guess that was in the App Store, right? It tended to rank Apple's version, I guess iCloud, above Dropbox. And when they were faced with the reality of this, the excuse was, well, we tag our apps. And because our app has Dropbox compatibility, we tagged it with Dropbox. That caused it to rank above. And everybody was like, that seems a little far-fetched, but all right, you're Apple. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Then the Epic lawsuit happened.
Apple admits why its own Files app was ranked first when users searched the competitor Dropbox. We are removing the manual boost, and the search results will be more relevant now.
Manual boost?
Huh.
That doesn't sound like a keyword tag.
Remind me again why we trust them.
Who does? So yeah, and it's funny because the engineer who they gave the email they're using here was like, I had no idea we were doing this. Why are we doing this? Maybe we shouldn't be doing this. And then the other one came back, okay, I've removed it. But it was never supposed to be there in the first place. Turns out the WWDC 2017, they turned it on right before then.
Oh, yeah. And then they just forgot about it for 5 years.
Somebody got an email on Friday. It was like, oh, this conference is coming up. Turn this on right now. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. Go in there, set it to true, commit.
It's 4 o'clock on a Friday. It's like, I don't want to think about this.
Forget all about it.
We've all been there.
But that was before, Dropbox figured it out, and they still denied it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Passwords and, like the password policies are just getting so crazy.
This article is so stupid.
And people hate them. But when you give them something like this, they act like it's a new technology. This is just storing your passwords in the cloud.
Yeah,
That's all that this is.
Apple says its new login technology is as easy as passwords, but far more secure. With passkeys and iCloud keychain, the iPhone maker joins Microsoft and Google in advocating for passwordless authentication. Yo, European Union, are you paying attention? Right here, this is all you need for your antitrust. All the password managers are on one side, and this is the Apple reimagining of that on the other. This is Exhibit A in Apple, doing insanely anti-competitive things, because this is the integration that password apps have been asking for the better part of a decade, but that Apple doesn't want to implement because of security. But this is totally a password manager that has already existed since time immemorial.
Now, they say there's no passwords involved. That's false. You just don't see them. Like Google Chrome, it generates a strong password and uses it in the background. You never see it, but it is out there in that iCloud keychain. So it's like, remember last week when they're like, what did they call that thing? Which was just a encrypted VPN with proxy. They had a fancy word for it. It's an encrypted VPN with proxy.
There is one incredibly important way that this is defective, and that is because you as the user are never actually allowed to see the strong password. This locks you into Apple's ecosystem.
Oh, yeah. And although I think they did say that they would let other, like Android and Microsoft.
Yeah, if you install their library.
Yeah, you could get it on the API.
But just pasting a secure string into a password text box, which is what the password managers do, would be fine if the operating system itself were not horribly obtrusive to prevent apps from doing that in the name of security. So they're delivering a better password manager experience than a password manager is able to from the API side of things. This is why people should have a problem with Apple, because this is a perfect microcosm of their shenanigans.
Do you think you'd have to have an iCloud account if you did it on Microsoft? So they would love that.
Yeah. Again, you're locked into you can't if I have a password manager and something doesn't work with it, there's no friction there except for like filling out the thing. Like some bank websites disable autofill, and so that it's like, okay, I guess I'll copy paste that myself. Oh, I can't paste. I have to like type it in. You physically can't do that if you're using Apple's library. But if you're using Apple's library, you're locked into Apple's ecosystem, which is the point and also wrong.
Well, if you're desperate for a 3090, you're not going to be able to buy one directly by itself. But maybe if you can find one of these, that's one way you could get one.
Razer returns with the most powerful 14-inch gaming laptop at E3. Chalk another win up for the Ryzen 9 5900HX. There's 3 models. All of them have the same CPU. It's just the GPU that differs. And I didn't think there was a 3090. I thought it was like 3060, 70, and 80.
Now you get a 3080 with the...
It's the mobile version too, so it's not as powerful as the desktop counterpart.
Or maybe it is a 3080, but it's the really expensive one before you even get that, I think.
I thought it was like 60, 70, and 80. 30, 60, 30, 70.
$2,800 for the 3080.
Yeah.
That's the best one you can get.
Yeah.
So, exciting. I'm sure they'll be. And just packed to shit. You won't be able to see for the boxes piled up in the stores. There's so many of them.
Razer did a good job because they were either working on this for a really long time or pulled out some insanely fast R&D way faster than anybody expected, especially given the current global situation, because people were asking about this 6 months ago and they were like, and then they come out with this and it's like, holy crap. So good job, Razer, either way.
If we've learned anything from Amazon, it's that if something is in high demand, someone will fake it. And you know what's in really, really high demand right now?
The global chip shortage is creating a new problem: more fake components. Industry analysts believe that the global chip shortage is creating a perfect environment for counterfeit semiconductors to enter the market. So this is only getting worse. This has been a problem since about March, honestly, of 2021, like where it's like really ramping up, and it's only been ramping up since then, to the extent that like people will order a real product on Amazon and then create a convincing fake product, put the fake product back in the return that to Amazon. Then Amazon inspects the product. It's like, yeah, I'm satisfied with this return. Then they'll sell it again, and then somebody then gets the fake product, and Amazon has to deal with that. Pretty crazy.
And they do point out the supply chains are pretty well protected against this if you're a big company. But if you're trying to start out,
yeah. What
about poor little ARM? They're trying to get started, get some new stuff spun up.
Nope. Sorry.
The taxi service, the Uber type of service, is also exists in the rich world. But in the rich world, it's a little bit different. It's helicopters. You can helicopter around town and pay with your app, and it's super nice. And this company called Blade does it. But they're a small company, and they're new, and they didn't quite get done with all their hiring before they got popular.
Blade had a fake spokesperson that was just apparently the CEO.
It was a fabricated personality.
Yeah.
And because he said he kept getting emails, and they were like, oh, hey, I know this is not an appropriate question for the CEO to answer, so can you put me in touch with your PR department? And he was just like,
all right, whatever.
Yeah, and he put on his fake mustache, and he was like, PR department, may I help you?
He like changes his accent.
I get that sometimes with the KVM tech support. They're like, oh, I don't want to bother you with KVM tech support. And it's like, if I don't understand exactly how the product is broken, I can't improve it in the next generation. So let's just get this over with. Oh, it's your cables. Yeah.
Again, it's the cables.
So they were not, this wasn't nefarious. He was just like, yeah, we had to do that. We didn't have enough people, but we're going to later. And everything I told you was true. So yeah. Stripe made an impressive offer to some of its people. Was it $200,000?
I don't remember.
That was a lot of money. They were like, hey, if you live here and you want to relocate somewhere else, then we will pay for that. We'll give you money up front so you can go and do that and get yourself situated. You're going to work remotely, but there's a catch. And we were like, I wonder if people do that. Well, spoiler alert, they did.
Stripe saw a major uptake of staff offer to move with a 10% pay cut. So you're going to move somewhere else cheaper, that's fine, but we're just going to give you a flat 10% pay cut across the board. A lot of people are moving to places that are less metropolitan. To the extent that the place where we grew up, there's actually a squeeze on real estate there now.
Yeah, someone actually put an offer on my aunt's house, which, you should just burn it down.
think it's only going to get worse in terms of the squeeze.
Maybe. I don't know. The lumber's coming back down. Did you see? Lumber
No.
futures are...
That's good.
They're return. I mean, they're still way up what they were in 2019, but that chart was looking crazy. And it's coming back to reality, I guess. We learned that there's a new version of Windows, but they did not have a name. Now we do know the name, and because of some leaks, we know what it's going to look like.
Windows 11 leak reveals a new UI, start menu, and more. And by Windows 11, earlier we reported that Windows 10X was not going to be a thing. It turns out that might have been some of Windows 11. I don't know. I don't really have a problem with the new start menu. I just hope that it's not horribly broken and buggy AF, as it has been.
I hate centered taskbar. Krista, how do you feel about
You can
centered
change
taskbar?
it to the left, but yeah, I kind of like... For some reason, I had a visceral reaction to it, though in theory, there's nothing wrong with it. I just don't like it.
It's Apple. That's why I hate it.
Everybody should install Power Toys. Just go ahead and install Power Toys and thank me later.
We got some more here. You can the start menu, Krista. If you'll scroll down.
Did they make it so the search doesn't search the internet? It searches your machine, because that would be nice.
I doubt it.
Honestly, the icon layout here also makes a lot more sense because I've never actually used the start menu to find anything because it is infuriating. I just type what I want. And Power Toys actually has a thing that makes it like the Mac Spotlight thing, which is also less broken and dumb than the start menu has. My favorite thing with the start menu, like what you were saying, Krista, is like when you start to type something and it finds what you want, but in the time it takes you to press enter, it finds something else that is not what you want, and then it launches that.
That's annoying as hell.
It's really like the designer there didn't consider that somebody might not be using a mouse.
They're bringing back all this garbage, which no one wants. No one wants this in an operating system.
Yeah, literally none of that.
Stop doing this. But that's coming back. I'm sure you won't be able to turn it off, or they'll turn it back on every time it updates.
In terms of like how it looks, like just visually, like it's fine. It's not really groundbreaking, but it doesn't really need to be.
I do like this. You now get a graphical representation of your snap twos that you could do with the shortcuts before. That's nice.
That's nice, yeah.
Power Toys.
And look at all these stores. Oh, God.
So many.
I love the stores. So yeah, look forward to that. Did they give a release date? I don't think so. It's a leak.
No, there's a presentation happening later this week. So I'm sure we'll have a video on it.
Well, everybody is trying to decide, are we going back to work? Or are we going back to the office? What are we doing? And companies are treating it very differently. But it does seem like there's that whole, have you been reading about this whole thing where people are apparently looking to quit all of a sudden? Like mass resignations?
I think that's just because of the come back to work and, suffer in the office. And
because they've had a taste of something different.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of people are thinking about that. And another thing that you might have to consider about going back to the office.
Companies push for employees to prove that they are immune to the human malware. Well, I guess it wouldn't really even be immune to the human malware.
No, it doesn't actually offer immunity.
Yeah.
It doesn't really offer anything. Just lie about it. Pro tip, just lie about this. It works great. They can't.
I never even thought to ask for that. Like, for any, not just the one that we just had, but like for any disease. Like, hey, are you vaccinated for this?
Yeah, just lie.
I have had that come up a couple of times when I was helping somebody do renovation. They were like, "You got your tetanus and stuff, right?" And it's like,
Well, that makes sense because like you're going to use both.
Big difference, though. Tetanus, is that an experimental vaccine?
no.
Oh, yeah.
We've been doing that for like 100 years at this point.
I'm fine with those. Jonas Salk, number 1. This is I read the headline and I was like, I wonder how obvious it is.
It's pretty obvious.
Oh boy, is it obvious. Krista, what would you do if something like this happened to you?
Probably try to, raise a stink, but artists usually don't win these kind of things, unfortunately.
They've got some. The deck is stacked in the artist's favor in this case.
If she doesn't win this one, something is really, really wrong.
Go ahead.
Oh, here. Sorry. I was scrolling down. Artist says Capcom stole her photos for Resident Evil. Devil May Cry games in lawsuit.
I would just like to point out that the Resident Evil village every time you take a screenshot with the, you know how like the new hotness is like you have the in-game camera, like Cyberpunk had the in-game camera, and it'll give you the bokeh and blah blah blah. That's a thing. Resident Evil Village had that as well, but the Resident Evil Village thing adds, it just plasters this huge copyright Capcom 2021 on the bottom of all the screenshots that you take from the game. Capcom, they are getting everything they deserve here.
They used to do that. They tried that. I think the backlash was so harsh, but when you stream the games,
yeah,
it would overlay.
Yeah.
Property of whatever.
Yeah. So this lady took a bunch of high resolution pictures, and
it was a book of textures.
And she published them. And it turns out that Capcom had that break-in in late 2000, and so the source code and some other stuff leaked, and the file names for the textures that Capcom's been using matched the file names that she used on her CD-ROM. And so that, plus having the raw sources, not the in-game sources, for the higher resolution originals, this is incredibly damning. So I really hope that Capcom has to pay out some absurd amount of money. She's only asking for like $12 million. I think they should have to pay out like $60.
But they should also have to pay $2,500 to $25,000 for each photograph used.
Remember when Jamie Thomas was sued and they were seeking $250,000 per song?
Remember when Nintendo sued that ROM guy and they wanted each instance?
Yeah.
How many copies did these games sell?
Oh yeah, that would.
If I was her, I would hit them for that, and then I would go back and find where they published piracy projections, because you know how they do that. It was like, well, these people saw my textures, right? You owe me that money.
That's true. They would owe damages for the people that pirated the game.
It was still stolen. Even though it was stolen from them, they allowed it to be stolen from her. I hope she gets a ton of money. That would be so fantastic. Moving on to the security section. Wait, is this security? No, it's not.
No, we're
ignore that.
We're doing robot and science. Remember we talked about that.
This probably should be, and that's still business, but probably should have been in the security section. But this has to do with automation, cloud hosting automation. That is hot right now. Everybody wants to do cloud hosting automation, but there's a danger to cloud hosting automation, and it's such a danger that poor Docker has had to roll some stuff back.
This week in programming, crypto miners overrun Docker Hub's Autobuild. So people are creating projects that exist only to automatically mine cryptocurrency, which this is why we can't have nice things. Anytime you have free anything on the internet, it's some people come along and ruin it.
So automation will no longer be on the free tier of Docker. Sorry.
RIP.
Thank the cryptocurrency miners. This one is, it seems like an extreme condition until you think about what happens to metal in sunlight.
Yeah.
It actually wouldn't probably be too hard to get to this, and one person's already experienced it.
Starlink dishes go into thermal shutdown once they hit 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Man, water dish to cool it down, but overheating knocked it offline for 7 hours.
And you might be thinking, oh, maybe they didn't test for that. They definitely did, because the error is very specific.
Thermal shutdown.
Overheat. So it knows it doesn't damage the unit, but he was unable to use it for quite some time. I mean, traditional satellite internet you couldn't use during very stormy weather.
Yeah.
What if this you can't use during very sunny weather?
So I think we're having a heat wave out west, right?
Yeah, I think this guy was he was looked like he was out in the woods somewhere.
He might be able to make a really, really simple plastic tent for it to just keep the sun off of it and maybe keep it under that temperature. Maybe.
You mean but it would have to be carefully positioned so it could still see the satellite but couldn't see the sun.
I don't know if it depends on the certain kinds of plastic maybe will permit the satellite signal through. Because I lived in a place that had a no satellite dishes policy, so I constructed a foam box around the satellite, and that worked fine.
We just chalked and mounted it to a cinder block. We take it out in the morning, bring it back in. Sometimes in rain, you have to re-chalk.
Mine was a lovely, fashioned into a lovely table on the porch with a tablecloth.
But yeah, I'm sure they'll fix that. They probably are going to have to end up having a much better heat sink
Yeah.
Maybe a tiny fan.
Oh, a fan on an outdoor thing, that's asking for trouble.
And moving on, now we're on to the robot/AI section, and let's talk about Google and what they're getting into next. Now, we all use Google Translate, right? I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll get the idea. It's a really nice thing. But what if Google Translate could go further?
Google's next AI move, teaching foreign languages. It's time for you to learn Mandarin.
I guess that's the future-proof one to learn, isn't it?
If it's AI, will it just be like really like racist somehow, or like the worst parts of that culture like distilled into language?
I think what they're looking for here is it's basically the same as the Google Translate, except it's more like the whole phrase explaining things to you and going more into a language lesson, but purely robot driven and purely driven on what you're searching. So it'd be interesting. For some reason lately, I feel like a desire to learn Spanish.
You've mentioned that several times now, I think, on the stream.
I don't know where it came from, but I've looked at like Duolingo. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
But people say that doesn't really get you very far. Like it doesn't get you anywhere close to fluency.
You could probably just buy a textbook and work your way through it. A lot of them come with like, I guess, CDs or, sound that you could listen to as well.
I probably wouldn't apply myself to that consistently.
I feel like you could probably just hire a yard work buddy and kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about Spanish. Like, you'll find someone who speaks it around here that you could, like, practice with. That was my struggle with every other language I learned, was I never had anyone to practice Japanese with.
The tough part about that is finding the yard work buddy who speaks enough English that that we could interface.
And he could tell you what you were doing wrong.
Because that's usually why they're working those jobs.
Yeah.
If you can speak English, buy a truck, all of a sudden you're the owner. This one, I meant to cut this one, but it's not very newsy, but it does point out probably something that we'll have in the future if you're very rich in the near future.
What is a flying car? It's a sleek cone-shaped thing that there's no picture of in this entire article. Something that Hollywood, would have for a quick getaway. It's not a helicopter. It's not an airplane. They seem to be kind of describing a gyrocopter, I thought at first, but I don't think it's a gyrocopter either.
I had JavaScript turned off, and I was just like, I must not see the images because I've got JavaScript turned off. There's no pictures.
There's no photo. It's a nothing burger. Chat, don't look at this. Don't look at this article.
It really seemed like they were describing a gyrocopter, which gyrocopters are cool. You should look up pictures and videos of those. It's single-seater.
It had the 4...
Yeah.
Gyrocopter's one blade, right?
No, it's 2. It's 2 but no tail.
But I mean 2 rotors, but they're in line.
They're slightly offset, but yeah.
But this is the 4-piece mini rotor.
Yeah, it's like a drone.
The balance is coming from multiple rotors.
The other thing with this was also like the computer control. So like you as an idiot can just get in and say, I would like to go from here to there, and the software just figures it out.
Yeah, driving is something we cannot let the plebs do with flying things.
Yeah,
I don't think we'll ever get to that point. I hope we don't get to that point, because that would be catastrophic. This absolute unit is finally ready to be viewed by the public. It's big and it's impressive.
The SLS, the first view of NASA's assembled megarocket.
We definitely just lost.
Oh no!
Something there.
There we go.
What? Hello? There we go.
Does OBS still? Oh, okay. All right.
Woo.
They probably didn't notice that. Oh, you did that line. Yeah, there it is. Look at it.
It's so big.
It's big. It's yellow.
Big in the bright yellow color.
It's nice. That's the center stage. Here they have the boosters attached to it for the first time. And they are going to put the shuttle, or whatever they call the thing nowadays, on that. And they're going to send it up with nobody on it.
A bunch of times.
Just to be sure.
This is what's going to take us to the moon. Apparently.
Oh, some cool concept art down there.
It's actually this thing that's going to take us to the moon. A lot of people will, they'll tell you a lie that it's going to be GameStop stock. Not GameStop. It'll be that thing. Or Dogecoin.
AMC.
It does not have BDE, Big Doge Energy.
It has a lot of energy, though. Quite a few horsepower on that thing. The Chinese Zhurong, is that how you pronounce that?
Zhurong, I guess.
Zhurong?
Yeah.
Sure, we'll be corrected. I keep knocking that thing down. Is up there, and just like
it's on Mars.
It's like all the other rovers up there. It likes to take pictures. That's pretty much its only job.
China's Zhurong rover, Mars rover, takes a selfie. How did it take a selfie? It dropped a camera. This is not like a normal selfie. It's just a picture. Isn't the selfie by definition that you're holding the camera?
That's a good question. Have we rigidly defined the selfie? What about
I don't think so.
that little Facebook remote camera thing?
Oh yeah, the one where you could pop it off your watch.
What if you pop it off, stick it to something? What if it's magnetic? Is
That's
that
what
a
they
selfie?
intend. Yeah,
That's going to be a selfie. So good job. We have several pictures from it. They're all pretty cool.
I also really liked the. Maybe I just read too much into things. I like the very last picture, where it's like, here's a picture of NASA keeping an eye on the situation from orbit, and it's like, wait a minute. Look at the resolution on that picture. The resolution on this picture is incredible. Do we have things higher resolution than that orbiting Earth? ...
Is there because of the no atmosphere, can you get a lot closer on Mars? Astronomer engagement challenge.
I mean, you can almost count the number of gears and stuff on that,
Which I'm sure they have.
Yeah.
There's definitely someone tasked with that job, keeping track of the number of gears. And you know who else might not be going all the way to Mars, but will be going into space? And as we talked about last week, not alone, but your window has closed. Krista, you cannot go with him. I'm sorry.
Oh, what a bummer that is for me.
And I know that you'd already put money aside for this.
Yeah, all of the monies. Seat on Bezos-backed spaceflight sells for $28 million at auction.
Remember when we were talking about it being like 4 or 5 million?
Well, I think
grief.
the bidding opened at a much 4.9. So that was some hot bidding right there.
Yeah.
Now we don't know the name of the person yet. They say they will not release that, but they will in the coming weeks. Maybe they have to actually get the payment first.
Yeah, probably.
Please be Elon Musk. Oh my gosh, that would be so funny.
Yeah,
And then we just tell them they can't come back.
Well, we talked about what if Elon went and just started sabotaging everything.
Yeah.
It wasn't this mission, but it was one of the other missions. Is like Simone Yetch was trying really, really hard to get on the civilian mission thing or whatever. It's probably not her at 28 million, but
Yeah,
Why
it's
would we
probably
want her to
definitely
go?
not her.
I don't know. She just wants to go to space real bad.
Jeff, so do I.
I have no interest in going to space. There might be a black hole out there.
There definitely are. I mean, they're
They're
hundreds
light
of millions
years
of
and light years away.
Yeah, you might freak out just staring into the inky black void.
Yeah, something about that. Like, I don't think I could do that. But
Just like you don't know that your hand is moving, but it's slowly reaching for the airlock button. It's like, I want to be a
the
part
call
of
of the void.
Yeah.
Well, I think we talked about this last week, right? McDonald's getting into the whole AI drive-through thing. They want you to talk to a robot when you're ordering. They want your license plate to be read so that they can track it. They want to tie that to your credit card. It's basically just the most terrifying thing you can imagine in a drive-through. And they said, you know what? Let's test this in the Chicago area. But they might have forgotten to check the local laws.
McDonald's AI drive-through bot accused of breaking biometrics privacy law. So remember the first version of this that used people's license plate data. And I think that actually made it kind of far in the process because license plate data was like, oh, well, that's observable publicly. That's probably okay. But this is using voice recognition and maybe face recognition and some other stuff they haven't disclosed. So they have to disclose it because also there's the Illinois law, which makes it very lucrative to pursue these kinds of lawsuits.
And I think Illinois is one of the very few states, like maybe California and Delaware or Connecticut, that actually has rules about this kind of stuff. Because if you remember the facial recognition, like the black people who couldn't get in their buildings.
Yeah.
That kind of thing was going on. So they're like, nah, we need to fix this. And how do the McDonald's lawyers overlook that?
It was there. It's they're in public. Like the law, I think they were. That's what I was saying about like the license plate. It's like they were successful with the whole license plate thing because people wigged out about that because it was like, oh, you can see the license plate from public, and I think they were thinking, yeah, this is different.
Biometrics.
Yeah.
Bio. That's the important part there. Car, not biological.
I don't understand why they don't just make this like they do with their indoor menus, where it's just a screen and then you can go through the menu and pick what you want.
Touch?
How How amazing would it be if you could print out a QR code for the things that you commonly order for drive-thru, and you could just hold it up as you drive through, and it automatically registers what you want?
I think actually what it's going to be is your commonly ordered stuff is just going to be on there, like Amazon. It's like, oh, hey, do you want what you had on Thursday? It's already made. It's already in the bag. Just click this.
We've ordered so many toilet maintenance kits here that Amazon is really pushing hard to subscribe and save for, like, replacement ballast things.
But, Chris, I disagree. I hate the idea of a touchscreen in a drive-thru.
I mean, it would probably be annoying because you have to lean out of your car, and then you have the issue of, like, the rain to deal with. But
you have to touch something other people have touched.
Also, yeah, that's the thing that disgusts me about it. Well, also, as someone who drives a tall truck and a little low-slung car, I can't use ATMs like that. I have to get out.
Oh.
So you can't think about a big commercial truck, and a lot of those guys are gonna be going through the drive-thru too. Also, just the amount of feces that is gonna be caked on that screen.
But you use the Panera one. In the before times, we used the Panera self-order.
That was indoor.
Yeah, that was inside.
But it's still probably caked in feces, right?
They did actually have, if you notice, they had the wipes right next to it. So you could wipe it down before you started if you want. And that was in the before time.
You know what I need? A wipe isn't going to do it. I need a vat of boiling water. I need to watch it be submerged in that every time and come back at that. Then I would feel satisfied.
We'll be able to do that with lasers before too long.
Although think about what a nasty stew that would become after a couple days. And our final story, this is great news for Jeff Bezos. I don't know, I think he's probably done with the whole creating heirs thing, but you never know. Maybe he gets really disappointed in his kids and he's like, all right, we need another one.
Mouse sperm thrived despite 6 years of exposure to space radiation. So they did a control group on Earth, and they did some exposure and then a lot of exposure in space, and everything seems healthy. There doesn't seem to be any genetic damage. However, the article does concede that a lot of damage arises from water being split into hydrogen and oxygen in your cell from high energy cosmic rays, and because these things were all frozen, there was no water for that to happen to.
Also, asterisk, they mentioned specifically mouse sperm. It doesn't seem like they tested on, like, female mice that had been in space. So, like, could a female mouse bear pups and be okay?
Yeah, the egg is much, much larger. That's true.
Yeah.
You definitely... Do any mice live 6 years? And even if they did, are you going to take care of them for 6 years on the space station? So, yeah.
What we got lined up for Friday?
Friday's nonsense and whatever we didn't do yet, which is security. Do we do security?
Woo!
We haven't done security yet.
All right.
We've done government, social, AI, robot, and government.
Security nonsense. Are you going to binge another drink?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
All right.
Give the people what they want. All right. Bye.